London's Grenfell Tower disaster brought to world attention the fire risks of certain types of aluminium cladding. Last month, the Victorian government took action, unveiling a $600 million package to fix hundreds of buildings clad in dangerous material. In South Australia, an audit to identify unsafe buildings has been underway since 2017, but the details remain a closely guarded secret. A year ago this week, the state government disclosed 4 of Adelaide's busiest public buildings, including hospitals and the Adelaide Oval, have at least some flammable cladding. Tonight, firefighters share their concerns over an apparent lack of urgency in dealing with the risks. And the ABC can reveal the state government is considering a lawsuit over cladding on the Convention Centre, which may not meet standards. Reporter Casey Briggs and producer Rebecca Puddy prepared this exclusive report.
It's the jewel in the crown of Adelaide's skyline, one of the busiest buildings in the city, playing host to conferences, events and hundreds of thousands of visitors each year. But the Adelaide Convention Centre is also home to a hidden threat.
Should we be taking that threat a bit more seriously?
I think so.
The point of concern is the centre's west building, opened in 2015. The Metropolitan Fire Service believes the extension contains highly combustible cladding called black core, but how much is unknown. In the worst case scenario, this is what it looks like when black core cladding catches alight.
Can you please move back, everybody? Anybody who is speaking to the building, they need to ring 999.
London's Grenfell Tower was covered in black core, plastic panels with a thin aluminium cover.
It is a very highly combustible product. Like I said, it is petroleum based, and once it ignites, it obviously spreads fire very quickly.
72 people died in the Grenfell Tower fire. It prompted governments around the world to take a closer look at buildings with aluminium composite cladding. A year ago, the South Australian government confirmed the Convention Centre does contain non-compliant cladding. Both the Metropolitan Fire Service and engineers say sample testing of non-compliant panels is generally required to assess the fire risk.
It might not be necessary to replace it, but the important thing is the risk needs to be identified.
But the ABC can reveal that hasn't happened.
I would suspect it's about money.
Is that good enough?
No.
If the MFS are on side and they're saying that this material should be tested, it's important. We need to know for reasons of public safety. We need to know that this stuff is safe. The MFS should be listened to. They're the experts.
The Infrastructure Minister Stefan Knoll declined an interview for this story, but the government has told the ABC physical testing of panels isn't needed because the Convention Centre has sufficient life safety provisions like sprinklers and evacuation procedures.
If you have black core panels, that's a real matter for serious concern and requires something more than to say there's a sprinkler system, there are exits, there is training.
With no testing done and firefighters unsure how a fire would spread, the MFS has doubled its response to daytime call-outs at the Convention Centre. The ABC has sought details of the cladding risks, but the Convention Centre has refused a Freedom of Information request, stating that disclosure may lead to a security risk and/or targeted attack, which puts occupants and others at serious risk. And that it anticipates taking possible legal action to recoup the cost of any remedial works that may be required.
If all this leaves you unclear about whether this building is actually safe, bear in mind that it was one of the major public buildings prioritised for investigation under a statewide safety audit. In the first stage of that audit, 22 councils identified buildings worth investigating. And for months, the ABC has been seeking information about which buildings could be a risk. But the government has repeatedly refused to disclose any information.
The audit is still underway.
It is puzzling why they have been so secretive and why this process is taking so long.
What we need to do is just get on with it and fix these buildings.
As the events of Grenfell Tower showed, the consequences of delaying action can be catastrophic. Casey Briggs, ABC News, Adelaide.